to the Articles of Confederation podcast. I'm Wendy Mikenzy. Today, we have a very special guest for our viewers, the man who wrote the Lee resolutions first calling for independence, one of the main contributors to the Declaration of Independence. Richard Henry Lee is calling from Virginia. How are you, Rich?
Wendy, I'm horrified. I just got word that the Federalist crooks in Pennsylvania ripped an Anti-Federalist from his home and forced him to the Philadelphia Ratification Convention. These people will stop at nothing to take away our rights, including stooping to the low that the British soldiers went to in the Stamp Act crisis. This is ridiculous.
Oh my God, Rich. Are they all right?
No, Wendy, they're not all right. In fact, those bastard Federalists won that vote because of the quorum they forced illegally. We are one state closer to never speaking freely again. These people will stop at nothing to burn our republic to the ground.
That sounds horrific. I thought the Constitution would just be a slightly altered version of our Articles of Confederation.
Wendy, it cannot be denied with truth that this new Constitution is most highly and dangerously oligarchic. If the elite wanted to revise an article of our Confederation here or there, they would do that, given the very well spelled out process put into the articles themselves. That was the original purpose of the Constitutional Convention, to revise the articles. The problem is they don't want to do that. Instead, they want to strip us of our God-given, sacred, natural rights. Also, they can walk into our homes, take all our money to pay off their debts, and walk right back out again, just like the British did. And make no mistake, Wendy, that is what this war is about. It's about money. This is a war between creditors and good, hard-working Republican debtors.
Tell us more about creditors and debitors.
Well, Wendy, I'm glad you asked that question. You see, the crooked Federalists and corrupt creditors had the good sense before the war to keep giving out credit left and right, despite the fact that they knew the war was going to lead to a little bit of economic downturn, as has every independence movement in history, ever, in all time. Of course, they had the good sense to ignore that and keep doing what they were doing. So, here we are. We've won the war with our blood, our scalps, our lives, and our limbs. We have won our freedom, and the creditors have won a mountain of unpaid credit. So, they have a problem to solve. And they solve it first by going to the state legislators. They start jamming coercive crediting policies down their throats. And when our hero, our savior, Daniel Shays, stops that from happening, they take it to the feds. They put their finger on the federal government to pay back its credit, and they bankrupt it. And so now, they're in a position to make their final strike. The kill-all. The Constitution. Their dystopia. Their tyranny. They are revoking our natural rights because it is getting in the way of their profit. That is what they're doing, and you have got to stop them.
But aren't these creditors Americans too? Why wouldn't they want to preserve our liberties, even if they were designing a stronger central government?
Yeah, Wendy, that's what I first thought too, except when there's even a basic talk of a fundamental Bill of Rights being put in the Constitution. The Federalists and the creditors freeze up and they choke. They'll tell you that there's no need for a Bill of Rights in the American Constitution, that we have no kings here, when they are literally trying to establish a monarchy with their president in their Constitution. What could possibly be the harm, you may ask, in just writing down these basic Republican natural rights in the Constitution? There is no harm, except for the creditors. You see, they can't walk into your home, take your money and walk back out again to make their profit if you're making a fuss about it with your freedom of speech. If you're conspiring with your fellow lowlives and your stupid little yeomen with your freedom of the press. They can't do it. Their entire plan revolves around us lacking these basic Republican freedoms.
That's just disgusting, Richard. But what about the hardships Americans are facing today? How will they ever get that fixed?
A valid question, Wendy. The corrupt elite may be trying to force an unreasonable constitution upon us Republican Americans, but there's no denying that the American people are facing economic hardship out there. Something has to change. But the only reasonable way to enact that change is through revision, not through replacement. We have to revise and amend our Articles of Confederation. I think my colleague Thomas Jefferson put it best in our Declaration of Independence when he said that governments should not be changed for light and transient causes, and he's right. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing wrong with revising a government to better suit the needs of its constituents, but there is everything wrong in stripping a government away less than 10 years after it's been founded and replacing it with a tyranny.
Thank you, Richard, for giving us the real causation behind the Constitution. That's all the time we have, but I encourage my viewers to take to the streets and protest this disgusting injustice. I'm Wendy Mikenzy. Peace.